Psst. Want to hear a secret? I'm going to show you some of Freyr's secrets to healthy soil. Hey there, you beautiful heathen. I'm Matt Sargent. Welcome to Iowa's Initiations. If you want to honor the land, connect with your ancestors, witness the gods, and save Midgard, you're in the right place. If this is your first time, consider subscribing. Hit that button and turn on the bell. That way you don't miss a future episode. Today we're going to be talking about some of Freyr's secrets for building healthy soil and having a healthy garden. Before we get into that, I want to ask, do you garden? Or are you interested in studying and learning about starting a garden? Let me know down in the comments where you are in your gardening path. And if you do garden, have you found that, like I have, that it helps connect you with your ancestors and your gods? Let me know. On to Freyr's secrets to building healthy soil and a healthy garden. The whole point of having a garden for a heathen, in my mind, is to provide food, fiber, fuel, and medicine. All things that you need to provide for your kin and kith. This makes you a more self-reliant heathen. And as I've alluded to before, the 9 Noble Virtues might be a modern concept. They're based on wisdom from the Havamal. And in the Havamal, we see the importance of being self-reliant and not relying on others for your livelihood. And all those elements, food, fiber, fuel, and medicine, are what you need to have a thriving, healthy life. And we can find those in the garden, and well in the garden we can connect with our ancestors, honor the land, everything in the catch line. Freyr is one of the most commonly known gods in the Norse pantheon. He's the male fertility god. He's considered the lord of field and forest. And as such, he knows a little bit about soil, and some of which humans have paid attention to, some we've neglected. The field refers to farms and or gardens, and then the forest is, well, you know what a forest is, I hope. So they're two seemingly very different things, although they're both abundant and provide. Although anyone who has worked in a garden or on a farm knows that the field is a lot of work, whereas when you look at the forest, they're naturally abundant with seemingly little effort. So what's the key difference? What can we learn from Freyr and how the forests are maintained and healthy, and the field is a lot of work? Well, the key here is that the field is being held at a point in succession, whereas the forest is expressing succession. You might be asking, what is succession? Well, succession is the ecological term for going from an immature landscape to a mature landscape. The main difference between an immature ecosystem and a mature ecosystem is a lack of biodiversity and a lack of biomass. Immature ecosystems tend to have poor nutrient cycles because of low organic matter in the soil, low soil microbiology. They tend to be windswept and barren. Nutrients are lost quickly, whereas a mature ecosystem holds nutrients, holds water, has healthy water and mineral cycles, has abundant soil life, healthy biomass, and in general biodiversity. So in the traditional garden, succession is the gardener's enemy, because even though it can take years, that bare dirt doesn't want to be bare dirt. It wants to move from bare dirt to a more mature system, whether that be shrublands or forests or a savanna. And so what happens is pioneer species, a lot of plants that are considered weeds, dandelion, chicory, comfrey, all of which actually have great medicinal uses or edible parts. They try and colonize the ground to get some plant cover, to start a nutrient cycle, to pull nutrients up from deep in the soil, and then let them rot in the soil, let the worms eat them, make them available to other plants. And these weeds create work for the gardener because we consider them to be a threat to our crops. So we've got to pull them out and have a nice tidy garden because that's what people expect, right? Well, in the mature ecosystem, there's not an opening for those pioneer species, and they're no longer needed because there's already good ground cover, there's already soil organic matter, there's already a nutrient cycle a healthy water cycle, etc. So we can work with this idea of what the mature ecosystem looks like to create healthier soil, better nutrient cycles, and less work for the gardener. And we can do this by utilizing elements that we see in the forest. We can have multiple layers, canopy, subcanopy, shrubs, an herbaceous layer, and then ground cover, whether that's annuals or perennials. All of these can provide food, fiber, fuel, or medicine. And as the gardener, as the designer, you get to pick. You can have canopy nut trees or nitrogen fixers such as black locust. You could have apple trees or cherry trees is the subcanopy. You can have shrubs. You could have roses for medicine. You could have raspberries. The key is to have biodiversity. That way, you've got a lot of different things going on. Roots going all down into different levels of the rhizosphere, benefiting all sorts of different soil microorganisms and creating an overall healthier habitat. And by doing this with different levels, shading out annual weeds, etc., you create less work for yourself. So if we work with the concepts that Freyr shows us and how a healthy forest works, we create less work for us and a more abundant ecosystem that provides more shelter, more habitat for the other inhabitants here on Midgard.